Hi, this is Christy Abbey. Hello to all my beautiful lovelies. Today we have somebody. Now, if I told you I had somebody from the wilds of the Midwest who came towards the coastal areas to make his fortune after a tornado sucked up his entire neighborhood and deposited it somewhere in a magical land, you'd say, no. That didn't happen, and it didn't, so that's fine. This is one of the people I've known online for a little while now, and has been wonderful. He runs the LGBTQ in the world on Facebook, and he is a radio person, and he is a podcast person, and he is really from the Midwest. I didn't mess with that. He's a musician and writer, so I like him. Uh, and this is John S. McCormick. Hello, John.
Hello. Thank
How?
you for having me.
Oh, of course, anytime. How badly did I mangle it? Other than I know which parts of it aren't true.
That was a good story. I like it. Yeah. It's like I'm not in Kansas anymore, but in this case, I'm not in Ohio anymore. I ended up, like you said, the magical land here of San Francisco. So,
That's what I was going for. The actual touch points, and and for some reason, friend of Dorothy came to mind. I'm not entirely sure.
actually, I have a picture on my wall of Dorothy standing in San Francisco, where she is no longer in Kansas anymore, and that's for sure.
Well, I've never been to the West Coast. Strangely enough, the closest I got was Salt Lake City. So,
Hmm. Well,
but
you'll have to come out and visit.
I will. I can get to Vegas. I don't know how close I'll get to San Francisco.
Okay.
But I have to have relatives there. It's kind of a thing. Um, when so you came from Dayton, and you and I are not too far off in age, so um,
Right.
I remember the '70s well enough. Just as a generic queer person, you what was your experience like? You were closeted for years, so please, I'm going to leave that question really open ended.
Okay. Sure. Sure. Well, like we said, I grew up in the Midwest in Dayton, Ohio, and it's a great place to grow up. I mean, but if you're single and you don't want a family and you're an adult, it's better to get out of there to escape. And that's what I did. I escaped to San Francisco when I was only 31 years old. But what I wanted to say, though, is living in Ohio, it's still the same today. It's very homophobic, it's racist. I'm not saying everybody is, but my experience when I go home to visit, especially my sister, I can walk down the street and someone will call me the gay F word. And one time they threw a bottle of water at me and hit me on my back. I mean, just walking down the street because they thought I was gay. And I don't know how they thought that. But somehow they knew. So, but yeah, but Ohio overall is a great place, really. It is. I don't want to bash my hometown too much.
No, I don't expect you to. But what I don't know what it's like to go from small town to big city, because I went from New York to a much small, New York City to a much smaller area here.
Right, right. Well, I did want to say you asked me how was it being closeted, and
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
did.
just remembered that's what you asked me. So, but yeah, when I was
Okay.
10 years old, I actually had girlfriends, and I was the only boy in the neighborhood. So all the girls wanted me to be their boyfriend. So I kissed them a lot and everything like that. But I have to say that's the last time I kissed a female. It was the age of 10. Because what happened was the boys started moving into the neighborhood at that age, and all the girls were excited, and I realized I was excited too. That the boys were coming to my street, and so yeah, I stayed in the closet since then until like I was 52, I believe it was, and I came out, like I said, on Facebook. But it was hard. It's hard, especially during the AIDS crisis. All my friends were passing away, and I couldn't share that with anybody completely as to what was going on in our community because no one knew I was part of the community. And so it was a really difficult time, staying in the closet all those years. But what was really funny is when I did come out, before I came out, I asked my older sister, I said, who do you think will be the most surprised about me being gay? And she said, you would be the one surprised, and nobody is surprised.
That that does tend to be the case in a lot of things. It was you and I. Again, we're similar age, so we went through the AIDS crisis as closeted queer general. I don't know if you mind the use of that word, and I for the audience, I don't think
Right.
I don't use it a lot, but I like the reclaimed. I reclaimed it early on for myself, and I'm kind of I kind of don't know how else to describe early life because some people knew who I was, some people knew me as just this bisexual wandering through their and having people suddenly die around you is a nice way to get you to run back into the closet.
It's true. It's true.
Uh,
Well, too, no one knew what the disease was and they didn't know how you got it. And I always felt when it was going on that maybe I had it, because I didn't know what it was for sure. So it really made it difficult. My sister had a brand new baby and she wanted me to hold the baby. And I was like, should I hold the baby or should I not hold the baby? Am I diseased? Do I have a disease? I don't know. So it was really, like you said, it was really difficult.
the I don't want to dwell too much on that.
Sure.
The question I would have, and you can wander around it and not answer it directly, and please feel free because I wouldn't answer it directly. Uh,
Okay.
but how much longer did that put you in the closet?
Oh, it just did. I mean, it put me in there for a long time because, like I said, I didn't know what was going on, and and then some people that I actually dated were passing away, and I couldn't share that. I had to come up with a different reason why they passed away, and I had to change the male name to a female name, you know, when I felt like I really had to talk about it to my sister or something. So it just felt dishonest, that I had to be that way. But um, eventually, though, now, that I am out, I can really talk about my relationships openly, and my sisters are very supportive. So yeah, I mean, it's been really good since I came out.
All right. Well, you came out on Facebook. You did the same thing I did, which is just one day's had enough, or maybe the day before had enough.
Exactly.
It is okay. This is where I am right now.
But you know, I almost came out in 2004 when I was 40, 43, I think. Because what happened was I applied to be on a reality show, and they wanted me to be on this reality show, a brand new one, and I would be the first episode about my life. And they wanted me to come out to my long-term friend who used to be someone that wanted me to be her boyfriend, but you know I couldn't be for obvious reasons. And but she didn't know why. So they wanted us both on the show so that I could come out to her and explain to her why I couldn't be her boyfriend, and they wanted me to come out as gay. And I wasn't ready to do that yet. And they really pressured me to be on the show. And then eventually and she also said she didn't want to be on the show either. So we canceled it. But I almost came out, you know, earlier.
Oh, yeah. There's lots of almost in those times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know. I found this with a lot of LGBTQ people in general, who come out later. That there were a lot of things that there were markers where they could have said this is the time I would have come out if.
That's true. Yep.
And I've got a bunch of them. Well, I was out for a couple of years, I'm told, after we talked on your show.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Yes. Well, I mean, I started coming out to people like I worked with, you know, a few people that I trusted, and they turned out because I knew that they were gay too, or lesbian, you know, and so we all became friends. There's about five of us. So I did have some people to go out with and do things with that were, you know, part of the community. So I wasn't completely alone, you know. So.
Yeah. No. And moving to San Francisco was not a hint to anybody, or just that's where you wound up?
Well, there's a bit of a story there. Um, I had come out to visit a couple of times, and I just fell in love with the city. Like they say, you leave your heart in San Francisco, and going to the Castro, which is the gay mecca of the world, basically. I just saw people same-sex couples holding hands, and just nobody cared. You know, it just seemed like home to me. It's like a place I wanted to live. So what I did, and I had this really great job in Dayton, Ohio, where I was a training manager for a newspaper, and I had worked there for 11 and a half years. I started at the age of 19. And I just one day said, I am moving to San Francisco. If I don't do it right now at the age of 31, I'm probably not going to do it. I'm just going to be stuck in Ohio. So what happened was I just gave my 3-week notice to my job. I didn't know anyone in San Francisco. I didn't have any place to live, and I didn't have a job. Like I said, I just gave it all up, packed up my car, and drove to San Francisco. I went all the way to the ocean, and I said, I made it here. And I had no place to sleep, so I had to call around trying to find a bed and breakfast or something, you know, to stay for the night. And I really lucked out. I found this residence club where I met all these people from all over the world, and it was really great. And then I saw a for rent sign across the street for an apartment, and I got it. And I've been in this apartment now for over 20 some years, and I just love it.
So you're in the first apartment you were in when you got to San Francisco.
Yeah, once you have an apartment and it's a nice one, you don't leave in San Francisco because there's something called rent control here.
Yeah.
So when I moved in, they've only raised my rent just a couple $100 since 26 years. I stayed in the resident club for a little while because I loved it there. But yeah, so instead of paying, like right now, my apartment would be something like $3,200 a month. I only pay $1,100 a month. So people hate me when I tell them that. They're like, don't tell me that. Because, I mean, you know, in San Francisco, they don't want to hear it because they're paying like they have like an efficiency, and they're paying like $2,500 for it. You know, it's
That
just
is the problem with the big city. I don't dare. I mean, there's 2 million people here, but in the 3 cities that make up Buffalo, uh, and we're paying a lot less than that for a house. So
right, right, absolutely. Well, I
the
actually want to. I've been going all over the country looking for a new city to live in. I mean, I love San Francisco, but I want to buy a house, and you just can't buy a house in San Francisco. I mean, unless you have a couple $1,000,000 or something. So I've been all the way to the East Coast even again, looking at houses. So someday I am going to move, but I'm not sure when. Maybe in the next couple years.
well, talk to me. We'll see what we can find you. Uh,
Okay.
I'm totally serious about that. That's not me showbiz glad handing. Believe me.
Okay. All right.
The you've been you're also writer. You're songwriter. So I you what I got from what you sent me was a very tiny little bit here. So
Well, yeah. I mean, I've written over about 50 song lyrics of songs. But what I did was in 2007, I actually had the first song produced. I found this amazing singer and musician, and he put together the music and the vocals, and then he sung my lyrics, and we actually did that song in a competition for American Idol, because they at that time had a competition where you could submit an original song, and if you get selected as the #1 song, then the winner of American Idol will sing your song. So we really wanted to win. Uh, so we submitted that song. Unfortunately, it didn't make it, but that was my first song, and people love it. And it's called um, "The Way I Look at You," "The Way You Look at Me." I'm sorry. And then I submitted another song to American Idol a year later, and we didn't make it then either. But it was produced too by an amazing singer and musician. So I really love that song. That's "My Moment Has Come" is that song. It was more appropriate for the show than the first one.
yeah,
But I haven't produced any other songs lately, but I've been wanting to. I absolutely want to.
everybody's stuck inside. I thought this would be such a productive time, and it just hasn't been. As I worked from home before, and I did just fine. I haven't produced. Now that I have to be home, I'm not doing anything.
I know, I know. When you have to do it, it makes a difference, doesn't it?
Can't just
I
walk.
re- I retired when I was 48 years old, so to focus on my writing, and that's
Yeah,
what I've been doing. So I'm always home, but what I really love to do is go and sit in cafes and do my writing. And now I can't do that for the last 3 months, so it's been really difficult trying to be creative at home, because I get more creative when I'm around people. You know, I get ideas.
yeah. See, we found somewhere where we're different. I mean, other than the trans gay thing. Well, I am gay, but
Right,
gay for,
right,
gay for women, or pan, but you know,
sure.
um, the yeah, because I can't be around people when I'm writing at all. The well, have you gotten any work done while we're been locked down? Because
Yeah, I'm working on my. Well, I have a novel that was published in 2014, but then I rewrote it and I published it again in 2020. So that was like the last finished project that I had done, and but now I'm working on a mystery novel. And the reason I'm working on that is because my great niece, I asked her for ideas. I said, I need an idea for a novel. What would you like to read? And she said, I want a mystery. I said, you know what? I've never written a mystery novel before, but I will give it a shot. So I have been working on that a little bit at home, and I've also actually been working on a new song. So I've been trying to stay busy, you know.
It's you at this point. I was gonna say better you than me, but I'm like, no, that's not what I wanted. Sorry, I don't like to cut off in mid sentence. It's sort of I am well. What is your normal, if you don't write the mysteries? What's your normal mode? What's
Well, I like to write a lot of fiction, and I like the most dramatic that I can get. So if they say the worst case scenario in a story, I want to go with it because I really love drama. So you know, I've written a lot of short stories that some of them have been published in an anthology. I was in this writers group on Facebook. It
yeah
was called Writer Shack, and all these
yeah
these writers were, and some of them are well known. We were all in this writing group, and every week, every 2 weeks, we'd have a different topic, and we'd have to write a short story or something about that topic. And so by the time we ended up not having the group anymore, we had a whole bunch of short stories from everybody. So they put together an anthology and published it on Amazon. So it is on Amazon right now. If you actually, I think I have it here. I was going to show it to you, but this is the book right here. It's called Writer's Shack.
oh very nice.
Yes, Writer's Shack. And I did want to mention, if you want to find my book on Amazon, this is what it looks like. It's called Imbalance.
Is that's not the detective? What's in balance?
Imbalance
What's
is a story that I wrote that was published. The book. It was about, well, it is about. The first half of it is about two people. One is trying to prepare to end their life, while the other person is fighting to live against cancer. So the contrast between the two, and it goes back and forth. Each chapter is, first it's about the woman, then it's about the man. So you don't know what's going on until the end of the first part of the book, and then you realize how they're connected. But then
yeah
the last half of the book is focusing on why this man wanted to end his life. But it isn't all depressing. You know, it
no
does make you laugh at times and it makes you cry, but it's gay themed. It's a gay theme. It's romantic too. There's romance in it. And but yeah, that was my first book.
Well, one of the things they did that a lot of people say is you have to stay away from the LGBTQ themes, and um I mean, for the most part, yeah, sure, but you also got to you also had to talk about your community too.
That's right. That's right. And I wanted to have that part of the story. At first, it was a female that he had a romantic relationship with. And I said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to make it a man, you know? And so that's what I did. And I had to rewrite the whole thing. That's why I republished it in 2020, just this year
Yeah.
in January. So,
I very much I've got one of those in the pipeline, so uh,
oh, okay. Good.
but I mean, it's I was rereading it because it never got published. It got interest, but it never got published because no one liked the ending, and I'm like, what's wrong with it? And then I read it, and I'm like, oh, it was me trying to come out as trans.
Oh, okay.
It is very much sort of like the major mindset that you go through. Um,
Well, I did want to mention this imbalance has been like a very big project for me because first it started off as a short film. I made a short film called Imbalance, and it was just a one scene, a couple scenes where the guy's trying to maybe end his life, and then I can't tell you the rest of it because you got to watch it. but um, but the thing is about it is, I said, you know, this would make, if I could extend the story, this would make a great play. So then I turned it into a play, And I had that produced here in San Francisco in a really tiny little theater. But they loved the story. And then I thought, well, this, I could really expand on this even more and turn it into a book. So that's the story of Imbalance. It's been 3 different things.
They, the best ones are. You
Yeah.
totally flowers for Algernon it. The well, you've retired from your work, but the keeping going with the artistic work, was it frightening to retire at 48? Because again, we have similar things there. I technically retired at around the same time, so a little bit earlier, about 44, 45.
Right, right. Well, no, I was ready to retire. I was lucky. When I moved to San Francisco, I ended up finding this one job, and it was a contract job for a while, and they underestimated their product, and I was the salesperson for it, and I made like 4 years' salary in 1 year, and they had to pay me. They had to pay me because it was a contract, and I was selling. And then I had some other luck with some other things. So I just said, you know what? I've got a little bit of money. I have steady income coming in from that. I'm just going to become a writer full time and just focus on my writing. And then that's what I did. And that was in 2009 when I did that.
Yeah, around the same time.
Yeah, yeah.
It's scary to do. It's scary to do half of what. And again, I'm going to use the reclaimed queer. I've noticed queer people are not risk adverse at this point because it's kind of like we've been through some shit,
Yep.
and when it's time to jump, it's kind of there. Do you relate giving up what you were doing to the whole idea of already been through? Yeah, I relate it that way. If you relate it differently, please let me know. Or that was not a question in reality. I'm trying to work it into a question, and it's just flopping around all over the place. I write are good. I words no. But I mean, do you relate it in a similar way, or is it just not that's a different experience? So just the jump into the things you are and the things you want to do.
Yeah. I mean, it was really exciting, to be able to just say, hey, I'm going to do what my dream's always been, and that is just to be a full-time writer. So when I was able to do that, and I started seeing projects getting done, and everything, and getting them published and produced and so on, it really just made me feel even better about knowing that this is really what I want to do. And I haven't regretted it. Oh, let me just say this much. I do get bored at times because what happens is I get a writer's block, right? So I'm not writing and I don't have anything else to do. So I get bored. And when that happens, I'll go back to work temporarily for like 5 months or 3 months. I'll do a temporary job just to break it up. And then once I feel those creative juices coming back, then I just focus on my writing again. But I haven't worked a regular job for, I mean, any job like that for at least a few years because I've been producing my writing. And so it's worked out.
All right, sorry for the interruption. Now we did this little bit here, this last 8 minutes before, but we're going to do it again because Zoom's new features are funny in that they sometimes work and they sometimes don't. or they sometimes turn off when you just hit pause. Which
Right, right.
so you're talking about the writing, you were talking about the music, and the question I had for you before, and if if you want to answer it differently. But you seem, I don't ask my guest enough. You seem happy in who you are, what you're doing right now.
Yes, yes. I'm very happy. I don't have anything that keeps me awake at night. You know, in my mind. You know, I sleep really well. But yeah, I'm happy because I'm doing what I like to do, and that's writing. And if I can be creative in any way at all, that's what I want to be. So I've even expanded my writing a little bit. I've started writing children's books too. I forgot to mention that before,
Oh,
but I wrote a children's book. It's just being illustrated right now. So that'll be coming out. But yeah, I mean, that made me happy too because it was another creative topic, you know, I can, you know, get into. But yeah, yeah, I don't have any complaints.
this is good. Um, I started this earlier in the episode too, but I started talking on queer time, which is the phenomenon of having to wait. And one of the reasons queer people tend to uh, feel younger is that we've had to put our lives on hold for a lot of reasons, waiting for things. And it's, if I ever get the chance to explain queer time, I'll just say, you know how you were during lockdown? That's queer time.
Right.
So that's this is the best I'm going to do, because I did mention the concept earlier and I wanted to bring it back around. But I want to end it off the YouTube prayer. As you all know, please like, please subscribe if you like, hit the bell for notifications, leave a comment. I have a PayPal, a coffee, and of course a Patreon, which I will pay more attention to, I promise. Other than that, uh, remember, your life matters, your voice matters, and you matter, especially at this time, and especially in this wild world. And one more thank you to John. And if you have anything final to say, please give it a shout out.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to say that if you want to see my work, you can just go to johnsmccormick.net. And that has all my short stories, audios, my podcast for the radio shows that I've done. It also has my short film called In Balance, and it
Right.
has a link, a PDF link where you can read my book for free if you go to my website.
Absolutely, and I missed that, and I'm sorry. Uh,
Oh, that's okay. I just wanted to make sure, you know, if anyone is interested, it's all right there. You don't have to go all over the internet to find it.
well, it was in the part of the recording that didn't happen, so it's going to be in this part of the recording too. You've been a very good friend to me in the last almost year or so. We've run into each other, and very supportive, and it's been extremely nice. It's helped more than you know. Uh,
Well, it's,
eh,
you know, you're a wonderful person, and I'm glad to know you for this about a year now. So, and thank you again for being on my radio show. So,
anytime we will speak again.
okay,
This
sounds good. Sounds
all
good.
right. All right, everybody, have a good rest of your day, a good night, or whenever you're doing this, or if you're doing it in chunks, have a good week. You know, however you like. Thank you very much, and we'll see you soon.
All
Bye.
right. Bye-bye.